Morning guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry about the audio, it's not come out on my GoPro, so I'll have to do a little voiceover. Today I'm just back out at Adams Lake at Cobbleacre Parks, just in Hederingham near Norwich. As I say, I've come to Adams again, but I've come to the back of the lake. I've never fished this place before, or this side of the lake. I've only fished Adams twice, and it's been on the other side. And it's literally as you come in the park gates, where the gate is. If you walk behind the gate and walk along the back, you can get to the back of Gianni's. There's some lovely little islands here. It's not far, it's about 12 to 13 metres across. There's some nice little cuts and bays. So I've chosen an area where there's a little cut through. And it's so lush here. It's lined with trees and bushes and lilies all around the lake. It's quite cool this morning coming here. It's about 11 degrees and it's quite a bit of a fresh northwest breeze again. And going on last week's video, I was having to think, I want to do this sort of similar today with the Waggler, but I want to feed a lot more controlled today and a lot more accurate. And where I was last week, even though the fishing was great, my feeding was appalling really. I was fishing just beyond where I could reach. Most of the time it was going in, but there's a few stray balls of ground bait left, right, some a bit further, some a bit short. So I thought today I'd try and sort of like concentrate my ground bait and get it all narrowed down nice and accurate. So I've chosen a Waggler line in the middle, which I'll show you in a bit. And I've also decided to do a pole line today at 12 metres to the far side where the lilies are, and it's plumbed up probably about 6 foot deep, and I've got a 0.3 carbon stem pole float, 0.14 main line down to 0.12 hook link, and a size 20 Camson B960 hook. And I've just got a little spread bulk, as I say, probably the shots, there's about one number 10 and 4 or 5 number 8 stots at sort of 2 centimetre intervals in the bottom third of the rig. And you can see that they're just spaced nicely about 2 centimetres apart from the hook length going up. So it gives a nice natural fall, but getting the bait down fairly quickly to the bottom. I've also set up a feeder rod today in case I need to, and I found a nice little spot to my right where there's a nice overhanging bush where it slopes away into the sort of like middle of the lake, and it's a nice clean flat spot. Okay, I'm just about to set up the Waggler. I haven't got a far chuck at all, probably just a very gentle overhast. I might even be able to underarm it, but just for sort of like basics, and that's what we're doing today, getting right back to basics and doing a bit of Waggler fishing, your simple cage feeder, your standard cage feeder, not a method or anything like that, and a little bit of pole work. But for the Waggler, I've opted for a 5BB, and I'll just quickly show you where I am. I've come down to Cobbleacre again. It's very early morning, it's about 4:30. I chose the back bit here. There's a lot of carp cruising. It looks like they're beginning to spawn up again. A lot of carp shallow around here and crashing. But I'm going to have a Waggler and a feeder just into this sort of little bay cut area. And I've opted for a 5BB Waggler to start with. It's just a 5BB crystal insert Waggler. It's a classic 5BB, and I've got one feeder stop above and 2 below. I haven't got any shot on there whatsoever, and I've just attached my plummet. So at the minute, that's obviously a weed, but I'll get that weed off. I'll put it out. You see that float? Disappeared away. So obviously we're not deep enough. Okay, we've just added a good 2 foot. It's very, very weedy close in. I'll just get this cast out again. So now if we swing it out, just going in the middle. You see the float there. Way above the surface. That's telling me we're obviously we're over depth. So I'll probably just keep pulling that float down an inch or two at a time. So what I want is just dead depth, looking at the weed situation here. So just gauging it. So yeah, that's a fair bit over depth. I want to float just to about that sort of point. So I'll probably have to take about 6 inches off that. Then once you find the depth where you want to fish, obviously take the plummet off and then put your shot on. And I want that dotted down. That's just me. Just to about there. Nice and fine. That'd be perfect for me. But it's 5 BB, so we'll see what it takes. I'm just setting the feeder up. I've got 12 foot Shakespeare Omni X XT feeder, and I've got a 1 ounce fiberglass tip in there, and literally a 20 ounce little cage feeder. And I'm just going to cast it off the end. I had a good sort of like cast about. I found a nice clear spot just off the end of the bush. So just off the end of this bush here. It's nice cleat and it sort of slopes away. And I've got a 1 ounce fiberglass tip in there. There's no bait on or anything, but nice soft tip. I've got my Elida Assassin 3 reel. That's with 4 pound Maxima mainline, and I've gone for a 3.2 Maxima hook length, a size 16 Tubertini 808 hook. The ground bait I'm using today is it's about 75% brown crumb with a few bits of coriander and coconut in there, loads of crushed hemp and hemp seed, a little bit of corn and some dampened 2 mils. I haven't put too much. There's only about 25% fish meal in today. I didn't want too much fish meal in there because I noticed from last time the carp aren't very big. They're mainly stockies, like a £2 mark. A few little crusions. There are carp in here, £5 and £6, but I dare say the biggest one's probably about £10. And I'm just mixing it as you normally do, not too wet, not too dry, just enough so I can squeeze it into a nice ball. So it starts breaking apart on the way down. I'm just going to introduce one at the start on my pole line. And what I did as well, I started loose feeding a few balls on my Waggler line, and then for some reason I thought I'm going to stop and start feeding on my pole line, and as you see later on, it was a wrong decision because sometimes you want to make a bit of a splash and a bit of a noise and a bit of a spreader bait so you got a nice sort of dining table area for the fish to come in and graze around and get confident. Sometimes going in with a pole pot and concentrating it out in such a small area works, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm just shipping out to a 12-metre section. I picked a line, there's a nice sort of area where the 2 trees split, and It's a nice bright spot surrounded by dark spots, so I know where I am. Like a little bay of lilies. I'm just fishing off it. I don't want to fish right into the lion's den. I'm just turning the pole pot over and tapping the bait in. Yeah, I don't want to fish. I want to fish sort of like I'm fishing about a foot, if that, a half a foot, 2/3 of a foot off the lilies, just in case I do hook something decent. I don't want to get dragged in there. And I'm fishing with a white hydro elastic, so it's just like 12 to 16, but set really soft. And that's that line primed and ready to go. Okay, I'm going to start on the Waggler. I've chosen a 5BB Waggler with an insert today. I want a little bit more fine presentation. I felt last time the thick top was, for the smaller fish, there's a little bit too much resistance, and that being as well 7BB or 2.5 spawn shot. I've gone for 5BB insert Waggler today. And I did do a video, but it hasn't come out on my phone, of how I've plumbed up in that. And basically, I have one feeder bead above and 2 below, so I can move the float up and down, and it's nicely locked in. And I have a fine piece of pole silicone on the line, which I attach my shot to. When I'm plumbing up, I take all the shot off and just put the plummet on. So obviously if you're not deep enough, the float buries under, and if you're too deep, then the float just lays flat on the surface, and you can get really accurate of how sort of over depth you want to fish, or depth, or just off the bottom. Because there's no shot on the line, the float's really buoyant. I've just dotted it down to the start of the red tip, so I'm pretty much fishing on the deck or just dead depth. Once you've found the depth, then just take the plummet off and attach your shot as normal. And today I'm just, as I say, I'm casting out. It's a nice steady overhead lob. I'm sinking the rod tip, 2 winds, and I'm literally fishing where they start the light of where the bay is. And it's just be feeding a small little nugget every sort of chuck in. Just one hand lightly squeezing it and gently chucking it in. Just trying to gauge the response. With it being a lot cooler today and a lot brighter, I suspect the fishing's going to be a lot harder. And also coming down here as well, early morning, and even now, there's a lot of carp and fish crashing on the surface. I can hear a lot of sucking going on in the weeds. No innuendo, please, guys. There's a lot of fish cruising on the surface, pairing up. A lot of thrashing and crashing going on in the lilies and the bushes beside me. So I suggest they're getting the heads down for another spawning session, so things could be a lot trickier today. The ground bait I've mixed quite active today with all the crushed hemp and the coriander and the desiccated coconut in there. When I'm throwing it in, I see the balls of ground bait breaking up and fizzing away, and it's a good sort of marker to make sure your float's in the right spot, because you can see all the particles coming up in and around my float, and you get all that fizzing and dimpling, and that should get the fish, any fish in the area, coming in to investigate and have a munch. Okay, so we've got a bait tray for the day. Got my worms in here, loads and loads of worms. I've got my paste, got some dampened 2 mils here. Little bag of dead red maggots if I need any more. A mixture of 2s, 4s and a few 6s in there with mainline cell stick mix liquid. Got a few expanders in there which I might try in a minute. Tin of chopped meat done into like 4s and 6 mils. Hard 4 mil pellets. Good tin and a half of corn. Half a pint of mix of red and white maggots. Load of fresh hemp which I did yesterday. And my ground bait, which has got a bit of 4 mils in there. Some of the mainline cell pellets in there. With dead maggots, bit of corn, hemp. So plenty of bits and pieces. And I've got my prawns, and I've got my tub of mixed pellets and a few little boilies and whatever, wafters and stuff. Yeah, I'm just feeding a small nugget every sort of cast. I thought I'd start off with a couple of nice red worms on the hook. Just nipping the top off and threading it on the hook. Just to see if there's anything out there, and if they are responding to worms, I could, chop a few up and put them in the ground bait. It's normally this time of year when they're sort of like wanting protein baits, or springtime is normally sort of a good time for worms, and there's late autumn as well. Never do any well in winter time on worms, but springtime, when they've come out of being dormant for the winter, and especially pre-feed or sort of spawning, worms can be very good. But now they're getting their heads down to spawning. We'll see. I'm going to start with worm, and then if that's not working, I can go on to corn. Corn always gets anything really. Nice roach, rudd, carp, tench, you name it. It's a good sort of summertime bait. Bright yellow, lovely sweet smell. No fish can resist the old yellow peril. a little twitch on the float. Little twitch on the float. Come on. It's just bobbing up and down ever so gent. And we're in. Yeah, that's a nice bend. Probably another little one of the late stocky little carp. All like peas in a pod. Lovely golden sort of brown, bronzy colour. And they put up a decent scrap for only being a couple of pound. And we're only fishing sort of, you know, lightish lines and gear. Really sort of light Waggler fishing, 3.2 pound hook link. I'm not going crazy. Size 16 hook. And a lovely little stocky carp. That's what it's all about, just trying to work out what's going on the day, and we'll come to that conclusion later on. It started well, and it sort of drifted away this session, and I failed to sort of get a grip of it and fathom out why. Maybe the change in weather conditions throughout the day, as it started off with a cold wind, and then it sort of got out quite warm and muggy, but all of a sudden about 7-8 o'clock that wind got icy cold, and put my body warmer on and a jacket beside me, thinking I was going to put a jacket on, but that subsided, and then the sun came out later on and it got quite sweltering. But yeah, and the clear skies as well. Just one of them days where conditions were not stable and not very favourable, and the fish are a lot finicky, and you sort of like struggled, or I struggled certainly today, just to find out the best feeding approach, shot and pattern, whether on the deck or shallow. I mean, there's a lot of fish cruising shallow and jumping and splashing, and I did try shallow throughout the day a couple of times, but tiny little rudd and roach and really fast lightning bites, and the float sailing away at 45 degrees, and I decided to, you know, go back on the deck and just sit and wait for a decent fish. In the end, we're off the mark. And lovely colours, almost like crucian carp. They're not crucians, you can tell. They're slightly too bronze, and the fins are slightly different. They're little stocky carps. We'll get them to slip straight back in. On the worm. That's a nice start to the day. Let's see if I can get a better shot. No. Straight in the water. And off you go then. Camera shy. Lovely little roach on the corn. I've gone back to boiling it in by hand because I found pole potting it in over the Waggler line. It wasn't working. The fish were really wary. Started to back off and the bites weren't really finicky. Sometimes they just want a larger spread of bait, like a nice dining table, and they can come in and graze, pick off bits of food, and get the confidence up, especially in the clear water and clear skies. When it's all on a dime, really tightly fed, I think they get a bit wary, obviously predation and all the rest of it. So yeah, going back to just throwing it in just changed things instantly. The bites came back and the bites were a lot more confident. The float sailing away straight away. Okay, time to feed another ball of ground bait on the far pole line. I've only fed it once, so I'm going to feed it again, and we'll get over there, see if there's any fish arrived. Hopefully get a bite or two. Come on, let's have a fish or two.
Godspeed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun, as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Okay, I've just gone back on the Waggler because it's getting plagued by loads of tiny little roach and rather that. So 2 big balls of ground bait on my Waggler line. Just to thought, oh, try and get some fish back in the area, or bigger fish, like I did the other day when it was really bubbling and feeding. And I know there's loads of fish here. Again, I'm the only person on the lake, and I put a big double bit of corn on, 2 bits of corn. Sat there for a minute, and another nice stocky, probably the biggest one of the day. They're not massive, but I've done that weird thing where the hook come out, barbless hook, and then looped in the thing. It's gone through his lip and out the other side. Must catch it in the net. All like peas in a pod, these fish. Plenty of fish under the surface. Just get that bait down to the bottom. And I noticed as well they're sucking the sweet corn. A lot of the time it's just the skin coming back, they're sucking at it. Small nugget like that, squeezing it quite. I want to get some bigger fish in the area and track some fish in, and I don't think here when there's so many fish and I'm the only one fishing it again, as I say, I don't want it pinned to an area. I want somewhere to graze around. Look at that for a roach. Lovely. Really golden. Packed the pole away, it just didn't seem right, and I had to go on the feeder for 20 minutes, half an hour, out near the bush, and I just ended up dollying it over my line. But I had one stocky carp, but it didn't feel right, it didn't seem right at all. The bites were really fast and raggedy, or just judder, but yeah, really slow on the feeder, so I was surprised. So I've come back on the Waggler with 2 fish straight away. That's the way with today. Definitely the Waggler is the best method, for whatever reason. So I've got a nice bulk and then just a dropper below it, and it just seems to be the way they want it today. Even though the bites are still a bit finicky, they're not as positive as they were the other day, just sailing away. They're just definitely a lot warier today, and there's a lot of fish topping. I mean, I could in another episode. I mean, you know, it'd be a day for a bit of slapping and shallow fishing on the pole and just catching whatever. You probably get one a bung, catching roach and mud and the occasional little stocky and that. But we'll carry on. And I might just, as well, because I don't want to sort of like plug that sort of peg too much. Start up another line to my right near the bush over there. Yeah, that one took on the job. It was only in about 2 seconds and the pole sailed away to the left. Just lifted into it, and another little stocky on the corn. Sweet corn is definitely the way today. Best bait by far. Okay guys, I'm all done back at the car. It's literally just gone 9:30, so about 3-hour session, so a couple of dozen fish, but the more it went on, the funnier and funnier it got. The bites were just raggy. I tried shallow, plenty of bites, sail away bites, but just couldn't hit anything. Went down to a size 16 hook and 6 inches deep, 8 inches deep sort of thing. Now they're just tiny little blades and missing them even on the deck again. Was the best chance on the Waggler, just a small bulk and then 2 droppers underneath and sitting and waiting, but the bites were just dibs and yeah, really shy. And it's quite strange, every bit of corn that came back was sucked out. It's just the skin. It's quite cool this morning. Actually, it got down to 11 degrees driving here, and it was cloudy, and then it's sort of like cool northwesterly sort of breeze, but it's been in and out, and now the sun's cleared. There's not a cloud in the sky, but we're due a fair bit of rain later on this afternoon in an hour or two until about 2 o'clock. But yeah, and I think as well that just looking around, all really shallow, literally under the surface, cruising around, pairing up, looking to spawn again. So I had a really busy day yesterday, back to work tomorrow, so I've only got 1 day off. So yeah, just a nice quick session, in and out, nice short video, but it sort of like cemented a few things in my mind. It was quite strange because obviously the plan was to feed a lot more accurate for the pole pot, but that didn't work today. I don't know, this didn't have any confidence. It was just, as soon as I started boiling it in and putting a bit of a spread, you know, a bait table down, it changed things automatically. So sometimes, you know, not always feeding on a dime is the way forward. I mean, I think to get fish in your area, you've got to, you know, either boil it by hand or don't squeeze it in hard ball so it all goes down. Put a little bit of like a sandcastle in your pole pot, or just squeeze your ground bait really loose so it forms a cloud. Get the fish in the area, then you can do sort of like tight little nuggets to focus them in one little point. Anyway, I hope there's a few tips there for you guys. All the best, tight lines. I'll see you again next week. Oh yeah, and that reminds me, next week I've got something very special. I've just gained a place by appointment only to a very special lake, and I've got the key code, or he's going to email me the key code and telling me where he's going to leave the keys, and I've got the lake all to myself for all day. So watch out for next week's video, something special. All right, tight lines guys, take care, bye for now. Okay, I'm just back at home and I'm just having a think over a coffee or what sort of went wrong today, or what did I do wrong. And I think fishing, you know, is really quick to give you a reality check. And I thought, you know, you go fishing, you have a good session last week, and I assumed it'd be the same today, and it wasn't. And the weather's not the same, conditions aren't the same. Last week, it was warm, muggy, stable, cloudy. It didn't change from, you know, when I got up in the morning, it was 14 degrees. It never got above 15 all day. Not a lot, a bit of a warm wind, a southerly wind, very muggy, very cloudy. Today's totally different. It was a lot cooler, about 11 degrees, as I said, 10, 11 degrees. But then it got out really hot and bright sunny, and then clouds and a northerly wind. And it just gives you a reality check. I mean, I went about it the same way, expecting the fish to feed the same, and they didn't. And maybe just a little pole pot on the end with a bit of ground bait and feeding like that. But who knows? I mean, I didn't get it right today, and I didn't work it out. And as I say, never assume when you're fishing. Never assume that you know what you're doing, because the fish ultimately are in charge, and it's up to you to find out what they want and how they want it on the day. And never assume that 2 days is going to be the same, because it's certainly not. And as I found out today, I mean, we still had a few fish, but it just wasn't right. And yeah, I never got on top of how they really wanted it. And again, I was like stuck in 2 or 3 mines. Did a bit of pole, bit of feeder, bit of waggler, and maybe just if I stuck on the waggler and just work things out a bit more methodical, I would stick on shallow fishing and just a couple of inches deep and feeding. Because that's the thing is I never changed my feeding. I kept feeding the same way, which is obviously not suitable for shallow fishing. So yeah, I was cocked up today, but you get you get them days, and it's good. It's good to get a bit of a kick in the groin because makes you sharpen your game, and as I say, it'll give me a good lesson for next time, just to go about like I did before and just feel your way into the peg and feel your way into the swim and the day and respond to it.